man. Life's a book, don't get stuck on sad pages. Rainy days with no money. Hard work leads to days that are sunny. Looking back, it was all needed. The problems, the pain, the trauma, the grieving. You are now tuned in to the prisoner to painter. Prisoner to painter. Hard work, dedication. Rainy days, inspiration. Prisoner to painter. And now, a word from your local Pope dealer.
And still keep taking a step forward.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, I've never experienced it, but like my grandma or my grandpa saying the same thing. Like you go into nobody likes you. Nobody wants you there. It's like that. Like,
It's not popping up on you.
that's fine. No, we'll tag them. It's, I just followed it. Oh, it's because we're on that page. That's why.
I wasn't having any issues
Got it.
before that.
But I got the. It's old, but I got it for your children, if that's okay, or if
Yeah.
not for you. But I think you'll really like it. It's from 1969, so it's kind of old. I wrote, I'll give it to you, but I think you'll really like it.
Yeah.
I've always had a thing with old Bibles, so I got one from 18 something. You know, like I don't read that.
It's like 200 something years old.
Yeah, it's cool, man. It's
Yeah.
just it's a piece of history. This ain't that old, but I've never seen a child's Bible with like such beautiful illustrations and stuff, dude. It's gorgeous.
Yeah,
Like,
that's pretty cool.
so
Okay, we're just waiting on Facebook and then we'll be live on everything.
awesome.
And then we're going to go back and tag ourselves because it wouldn't let me do it in the
That's
live part.
absolutely. A little wet that there.
All right,
We good?
we're good.
Awesome. Welcome to the Prisoner and Painter podcast. I'm Nathan McDermott,
And I'm Katie
and
McDermott.
today joining us is Mark Tocco.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, thank you for coming on, man. You're my second guest to ever ask to come on, so that is very huge for me. It's if I'm allowed to say your wife was the first one.
Yes.
So awesome. I am hearing some of your story from her, and then listening to that video you sent me. I'm excited to hear, I guess, your side. Not that it's like, not that the sides are conflicting. I'm just excited to hear about how you got so.
Both perspectives.
Yeah, I'm very excited to hear you got your children back, and you're a Marine and all that stuff. Normally I write down these notes, but I've been swaying away from it because I feel like it takes away the
Authenticity.
Yeah, I really feel like it does. So and you're the second person I've ever done this for. So not that matters, but I really want to make it as real as I can.
Yeah.
So
I feel that, man.
so I wanted to start with this. I didn't want to just do it for the live, but I kind of did. I did get through this Bible, you know. I did stay from prisoner to painter to Mark Tocco. Published in 1969. I left a little bookmark in there. I thought it was something pretty sweet. Just cool.
Oh yeah.
I really want to show appreciation to the people that are. To me, you're showing us support regardless by coming on here. So I would like to equally show my support to you. So, Katie.
Where would you say that your story starts?
My story started when I was really young. My whole life has been a life of survival. You know what I'm saying? It's I got brought up in a really rough childhood. You know, constant battling, watching my with the time I thought it was my dad, but actually ended up he wasn't. But you know, fighting with my mom all the time. They got physical a lot. He did. You know, I had to watch that. And from a really, my Uncle Troy tells me all the time about the story from a really young age, actually. My sisters were playing at the park, and I was 6 years old, and I was sitting on the bench kicking rocks, just looking at the ground, and he walked up to me, and he was like, "What's wrong, buddy?" I was like, "Man, life's rough, dog." 6 years old, that's, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it started when I was really young.
Right on, man. That's we've been asking that because not every story starts in childhood. But it sounded like yours did. I listened to a video that you sent me, and I know we'll get into that later. But the Helping Hands video that you sent me brought me to tears, honestly. So if I could, I would like to put that link in the comments for people. Okay, awesome. Because that video that seriously touched me. So it said 6 years old, 7 years old. You said something about going in and out of crack homes. Would you care to say a little bit about that?
It was not 6, it was 9.
9. Okay.
And I'll say this much.
Yes, sir.
People love you and they're not sure. Okay, when someone loves you and they're themselves, my whole family
Mhm.
is wrapped up in, pain, addiction,
Mhm.
felonies. Just that's my family's wrapped up in that.
Gotcha.
My family loves me, but sometimes they don't realize they're doing something wrong, and they just wanted me to hang out with them, and they took me to this because they were there, but they wanted to spend time with me. And he came out
Gotcha.
and dropped something in the seat, and it happened to be a crack pipe, and I just wanted to know what it was about.
Mhm.
I didn't start my addiction there, but it made me comfortable. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Yeah, and a 9-year-old should not be comfortable around drugs like that. I mean, so I can see how that could put the direction of your life down not the right path, I guess.
Yeah, and there was always alcohol,
Mhm.
and there's just everything.
Yeah.
From since I can remember.
Gotcha. Well, I don't always try to stay in the bad, so just bear with us while we get to the good. Of course, it goes back and forth. Well, how would you say your relationship was with your mom and dad, though, regardless of the that side of it? Like, did you guys get along pretty well?
My mom, she did her very best. She was a very loving mother. Yeah, I've always, she's a human being,
Mhm.
and in my family, it's generational. It got worse and worse and worse the further back you get.
Mhm.
So she had a really rough upbringing too. Like she had to watch some really bad stuff.
Mhm.
And so, given that, I think she did an excellent job raising me. She did. She did make mistakes. She. And sorry, mom, I'm going to be a little candid, but she went from guy to guy to guy because that's what she knew.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
She did her very best, but it was a rough childhood for me because I had to watch her get beat by men. I had to have alcohol around me. So my relationship with my mother was stringent, and on top of that, my mom, she hated men. She absolutely hated men because they beat her, raped her, her family did it to her. It's just she was constantly hurt by men. So she had this thing, and she never directed it towards me, but she would always say things like, "I hate men. Men are worthless. I wish they would just,
Yeah.
So that's what I felt like. I felt like that's what I was going to become,
Yeah.
and I was afraid to become a man.
Mhm.
And I kind of had this weird relationship with my mom because she loved me because I was her son, but she hated men.
Yeah.
So I didn't know what to think.
Yeah.
And as far as Alan, when I was a kid, I hated him.
Understood.
Like, I didn't have religion in my life until just recently.
Okay.
So all the bad things was a part of life. That was just the way it was. I hated him. I wanted, like, in my head, I was willing to go to a different reality to watch him suffer over and over and over again for all eternity, and I would leave everything in life behind.
Mhm.
That's how much I disliked him. And pretty much every man my mom got with,
Mhm.
because obviously not obviously, but I feel like she felt like she wasn't good enough for anything better than those kinds of things that she was picking in men.
Yeah.
So to answer your question, I had an awkward relationship with my mom, and I hated my dad.
Understood. Well, I do want to say something. I love your passion. I love your passion. I am sorry, but it does make you who I'm sorry. I could just stop it. So
No, I
Yeah.
agree with you 100%. I thank God every day for my. I'm probably gonna cry a lot, man. Honestly,
I
this is
get
a
it.
rough life, though,
Mhm.
and I thank God for everything that I have went through, and that's why I actually was interested in coming onto this,
Awesome.
because if I can reach anybody with my experience, strength, and hope, it's worth it, even if it's one person.
Yeah.
Especially whenever I get to put a little Bible in it.
Yeah.
If I get to do that,
Yeah.
I'm in, dog.
Yes, sir.
I'm in all the way.
People listen to me or to Katie, but there's something about somebody with your passion. You draw more people to listen. I didn't know that till I met you. So I mean,
It's the energy.
it's that's probably the Marine in you. I'm sure we'll get into that, but it's like you command. I fuck with it. Pardon my mouth, but I really fuck with it, dude. I do. Okay, so rough childhood. Didn't get along. Hated your dad. Rough relationship with your mom. How was high school for you, or how was schooling for you throughout school?
Well, I'll put it this way: my very first day of kindergarten, I got expelled.
Shit.
Not suspended, expelled.
Bell.
Because I carried what I had at home
Mhm.
to school. So it was at home, constant survival, constant
Mhm.
survival, constant survival. Well, when I'm at school, I'm the poor kid.
Yeah.
I have a horrible family, you know what I mean? So it's just like the kid that gets picked on.
Yeah.
So it was at home I was getting picked on, at school I was getting picked on. There was never any relief for me. And my first day of school, I was in a bathroom in kindergarten, and this third grader gave me a dirty look, dude. I'm already in my feels, you know what I mean? And I was just like, you know what? Screw this guy. You know what I mean? And I grabbed him by his hair and was just like wham, 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 wham into a mirror over and over. Ended up having to go to a hospital, and I got expelled.
Okay.
So school was, I don't miss it.
Yeah.
I mean, I was always, and I was always the smallest kid, believe it or not, all the way up until I was like 15 or 16. I didn't grow really.
Okay.
So everyone, so it's like on top of always getting picked on because this and this. I was the smallest. I was poor. It was just everything, constant, just.
Yeah.
So I did not like school, and I moved to like 60, 70 different schools because my mom and just constantly trying to find where she could make it.
Yeah.
So
Man,
constantly.
I'm just happy that you found your way, and I'm excited to get to that part of the story. But sorry, sometimes I get at a lost word. So 15 or 16, you got your growth spurt, let's say. Were you using? And did you beat up people more? Let's say I don't know how to ask that. So you got bigger.
Did you get more aggressive?
Yeah. Did you get more aggressive?
Much more aggressive.
Okay.
Yeah. So before that, when I was smaller, bro, I was always like that sweet, like crazy kid. Like I would never hit anybody. Okay, so freshman year, no, it was 8th grade year in middle school. There's this kid named Preston Charlotte. He picked me up by my throat, and he just started smashing my face into the wall over and over and over and over. And the whole entire time he was doing this, I was laughing at him. I was laughing at him, and I spit in his face because I didn't know else how to react because that's just what I was used to. So I'm like, well, what? It's not something I'm not used to, buddy. So I just laughed at him the whole time.
Probably made him more mad too. I'm guessing. Like,
exactly. So he just kept going harder, and then so I had that all the way up, man. And that was this is every day, dude. And then eventually I got that build, that size, and it got to the point where I would go into the in-school suspension room, and there'd be like the kids playing Magic the Gathering, that kind of crew. So I would just go in there, and I'd be like the bodyguard. Anybody who walked up in there and started trying to bully them, I would bully them. So I was like a bully who bullied the bullies. You know what I mean? And I wasn't just like, hey, you better back off. It was like, hey, nerd, get out of here, go. You know what I mean? It was like,
awesome. Well, it's funny. I was raised, there's the wolf, there's the sheep, and then there's the sheepdog. So I would say that you were the sheepdog, the one that protects the sheep from the wolves, and I respect you even more. Wow. So 15, 16, yeah. Was high school clearly wasn't normal. But did you play sports or did you go to prom or anything? What was that part normal for you?
I tried to go to sports, but every time I tried to play in sports because I moved so much, they told me that I couldn't play because they were afraid that I was drafted.
Okay.
So I couldn't. I tried, but they never let me. And I did BMX a lot.
Cool.
So, and I played World of Warcraft a lot.
Nice.
So it's like BMX and World of Warcraft.
Okay.
And then besides that, yeah, I did. I smoked. I popped pills. I drank.
Okay.
And it was about when I got bigger. That's about, I never even thought about that. Yeah, it's about the time, right when I got more aggressive in size. It's right when I started to just screw it, man.
Yeah.
Like, I'm tired of this, I'm tired of that, I'm tired of this.
Yep.
I'm going to take it in my own hands.
Yeah.
And, you hear that as a kid. I'm the master of my own destiny. I can do this.
Yep.
This is, which is, to me now lies, but
yeah.
That's how it was for me. So I just took it full in, bro. I took it full in.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, I'm gonna grab a hold of all this and I'm gonna make it mine. That was so. Now you look back on it, it's like,
where do you think that your sense of like ownership, needing ownership, like this is mine, I'm gonna make it mine, I'm gonna do this because I want to. Where do you think that like started with you?
It started when I was really young because I had no control over my life whatsoever. And I was constantly feeling like I wasn't good enough because like I told you about my mom, how she always said that. She wasn't trying to direct it at me, but she did say it in front of me.
Yeah.
So I never felt like I had any kind of control whatsoever in my life. And this was like the first time, like, even if it wasn't a negative annotation, I had control.
This, I don't know why you're the first person I've thought of this for. And when I was a kid, I had a great childhood. And I'm just gonna say that to phrase my question. I had a great childhood. My favorite toy was I had a brown bear with a blue nose. It was from that fucking
Bear
show.
in the Big Blue
Bear,
House.
Bear in the Blue House.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah.
so I had the toy box, and I had a great childhood, and I've never asked anybody with the opposite effect of a bad childhood. Did you have toys? Did you have a toy box? Like what did childhood look like? What did your childhood room look like?
Well, most of the time I didn't get a room
Okay.
because my sisters got the room and my mom couldn't afford more than a one room house. So it was like my sisters and my mom got the room, and then I would get like the closet or I'd get the bed or
Yeah.
But as far as toys, really didn't really ever have toys because we were every time we would move, my mom would say, "All right, pack what you can in the car and we're out."
Gotcha.
So it was whatever I could take. So I had a couple of toys, but nothing that I ever held on to for a long time at all.
Gotcha.
Kind of like now that I think about it, it kind of started that like disconnection
Yeah.
feeling that I started to get right then
Gotcha.
because I never had anything like that.
I can't say I understand, and normally I say that. I'm sorry. Is there anything from childhood that you would like to share that would be relevant to your story? Before we get on to
Anything that we might have missed in the little bit that we went over.
yeah.
Two things that I'll mention because they really play a big role on what my life is to me my life is what it was without God and what it is with God. I'm a very faith-based individual now.
Awesome.
So my life without God, and I'm not pointing fingers at anybody, but because of how I was taught how to hate them and how I'm going to grow up, and every man I've ever seen in my life was abusive, alcoholic, drug addict, mean. So I actually, for a good amount of time, wanted to be a woman. And that's that's not something I say a lot. Obviously, I'm a Marine. I don't want to admit that I wanted to be a woman, but I did because I hated men. And secondly, from a very young age, I started to crave almost like a superhero complex because, and I specifically remember one time that I'll mention when I was 7 years old. I walked in my mom's bedroom because I had a nightmare or something, and she had been crying, or my mascara was run down, and she was like rolled over on the bed. I won't get too explicit. And Alan was over here, and his pants is like half pulled down. And I wasn't stupid. I knew what happened. And I walked in the kitchen, I grabbed a knife, and I went over and I stood over Alan. It was the first time I ever wanted to kill somebody.
Understood.
So, witnessing a lot of traumatic events in your early childhood, and it sounds like later on, like early teens, was it still happening? Like
Yeah.
that kind of stuff? So you witnessed it for a long time, and there was like, I don't want to say toxic masculinity, but there was like a lot of like toxic feelings towards what a man should be.
Yeah.
How long did it take you to figure out that it was like affecting you internally?
I didn't even take time to think about it until I got sober. When I found God. I'll put it to you like this. If I could explain it metaphorically. In my whole entire life, I was in survival mode, and I was the master of my own destiny. So it was like I was running through a crowd of people towards a direction, and every time someone tried to grab me to stop, I would just rip past them. I didn't stop. I just kept going. No, you ain't stopping me. I'm going to keep going. No, you're going in the wrong direction. No, I'm not stopping. Because once I stop, I have to look back and I will see the wreckage of my past. I can't stop. That's how I lived my life from a very young age all the way up until recently. I would not stop. And, that's something I learned too. It was like I was constantly trying to climb this mountain, and I was working my way up this mountain. I just could never reach the top, the peak of it. I couldn't. I could not reach the peak, dog. And it was so frustrating to me. That's how my whole life was until I found God. And whenever,
How old were you when you got out of the situation? Like at home? Was that like during high school, after high school? Did you stay a long time? Like
I didn't really truly get out of it, the situation at home, until I joined the Marine Corps. I joined right out of high school.
So, well, how did you transition from like high school into getting to the Marines?
Did you walk by a recruiter's office one day and they just say, hey, you're a good fit, or did you actively seek them out?
I knew I was going down a bad path, man, and I knew it wasn't going to end good. And I was tired of the cycle I was in. I walked up in that recruiting station with flippy emo hair.
Oh, shit.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I couldn't
I know
see ya, but I know what
exactly.
you
My
mean.
eyes were just like red blitz stoned out of my mind, and I was like, "Hey, man, I want to join the Marine Corps."
So before we get into it, because I'm very interested to hear a little bit about you being Marine. But I should ask a little more. So 15, 16, you hit that growth spurt. That's when drinking and doing drugs starts, or popping pills starts taking a hold. How does 16 to 18, how does that look before you join the Marine Corps? Like did it get worse and worse? Parties, drinking every day? How did an average day look for you?
From what I can remember, it was a lot of just, honestly, 16 to 18 was kind of like closet drinking. Closet, like sneak off and then act like everything's okay.
Mhm.
And then it really is whenever I started to numb myself out to the world. I just shut everything off.
I hate to ask, but I'm going to, because it's the point of this. 16, 18, did you have any relationships? And if so, did your upbringing bleed onto those?
I never had one real relationship, really honestly, until I got with Caleb.
Understood.
I mean, I had like week to 2 week flings,
I
you
get
know what I
that,
mean?
yeah.
But you know, in a sense, I had commitment issues.
Understood.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I've had one real relationship before her, so I understand I understand. It might seem odd to some, but it's not that strange actually. That's a lot of people's story. So you go into the recruiter's office, long-haired hippie need not apply type thing. How I don't even know how the process goes, but did you say you need discipline, or how did it start? I guess like yeah.
Well, I walked in there and I was like, I want to join the Marine Corps. And he was like, you got a long way to go, kid. And I was like, all right, well, let's do this then. And he stopped and looked at me. I'll never forget, his name is Sergeant Hyndman. I'll never forget that name.
Yeah, no shit.
And
I'm sorry, that's funny. Yeah, sorry, that's a funny name.
yeah.
Sorry.
I walked in there and he was like, okay, so something that people have always told me is I'm a passionate person. That's what people always have told me since I was little.
Okay.
And whenever I walked in there and he was like, he was basically said, I could see that you have a passion inside you, and if forged right, it can be used for something that's good.
Definitely.
You know what I mean?
Definitely.
Like we can use this. This is molding material, basically what he said.
Okay.
And I was like, sure, man, I just want to join the Marine Corps.
Yeah.
You know, and in my head, I didn't realize it at the time, but really it was because I wanted to take evil out of the world with my own hands. And I wanted to run away from the evil that I was raised up in. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I really and I go back to that 7-year-old story when I was a kid. I wanted to do that. I wanted to be the evil that took out the evil. Because I already thought I was disgusting because I was a man. So.
Well, I believe Jesus Christ is my Lord and Savior, but I was raised Catholic, so the whole and I say that for a reason. You know, God gave us our changes weapons because even the Almighty knew that you can't fight evil with tolerance and understanding. Yeah. I mean, so there is still a sense of there's still a sense of honor in that. So, how was boot camp?
Boot camp was a rough one for me because I was already like, you can't hold me down, man. You know. So I was a fat kid too on top of that. So when I joined boot camp, from that size growth, and I just whooped right out. So like when everyone else ate, they had like 5 minutes to eat. I only had 1 minute to eat, and then like the rest of the 4 minutes, I had to sit there and watch everyone eat and say, "I'm fat. I'm a piggy. I like bacon," or say things like that. You know what I mean? Or you gotta get it straight.
Gotcha.
And I just, you know, I didn't take well to authority. So like I teach a lot, which is intense training.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
Like wall to wall conversations.
Mhm.
You know, one time I'll tell you this story. One time, I can't remember exactly what happened, but I back talked one of my drill instructors,
Mm.
and so I got to the ground, and he's like, "All right, push up, push up." You know,
Yeah.
I'm just doing my push-ups, doing my push-ups. I couldn't do anymore. He's like, "You got 15 more. You got 15 more." I was like, "This recruit can't do 15 more, sir. This recruit can't do 15 more." He's like, "You can now." And he started kicking me in the ribs as hard as he could
Yeah.
to get me to go up.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I did those 15.
Hell yeah.
At the end of the night, every night when you're in boot camp, they make you strip naked to check your body to make sure you're good to go.
Okay.
And my senior drill instructor, which is like the daddy,
Yeah. Yeah.
he walks around and checks you. And he comes up to me and he was like, "Recruit Tocco, what is it?" I had a giant bruise on my side right here, like this whole thing. He was like, "What happened to you?" And I was like, and the guy did it to me and was looking at me like,
Don't fucking
"Oh."
say it. Yeah.
I was like, "This recruit fell down some stairs, sir."
Yeah.
He's like, "You didn't fall downstairs." It's like, "This recruit fell down some stairs, sir."
Yeah.
And he was like, "You must lost your mind.
Yeah.
You know what? Go find your mind."
Oh shit.
I'm like, "How do I find my
Yeah,
mind?"
no shit.
So first thing he does is he's like, "All right, well, let's go outside." So he takes me outside. I'm in my boxers now.
Mhm.
And he takes me outside. It's pitch black and there's like a bush. He's like, "All right, go find your mind." And I'm like, okay. So I'm like picking through a bush, not knowing what the heck I'm trying to find.
Yeah.
Because how do you find your mind?
Yeah. No shit.
So eventually I'm just like, screw it. And I picked up a rock. I was like, "Sir, this recruit found his mind." He was like, "All right, now swallow it." So that was pretty much my experience all the way through. I mean, they molded me and they taught me how to become a man. I was hard pressed to conform.
Mhm. I was gonna ask, it. I apologize if I used the wrong words. Going from an abusive childhood to you join something abusive. I mean, I know the Marine Corps is to mold you into a man and to make you fight for your country, but there can be abuse there. Like that's pretty cut and dry. So how was it going from abuse to abuse? I guess. I'm clearly we're used to it. but-
I guess I would reframe it to say like mental obstacles. So like you went from witnessing stuff that was terrible and hearing things that were terrible, but like I feel like maybe they weren't directly directed to you, but then when you join, it's like they're directed right at you. How was that? Like, how was it going from witnessing it to like being the person it was directed at?
Yeah. So if I'm being honest, I'll put I'm a big man aside.
Mhm.
I was afraid.
Definitely.
I was scared. I didn't know it. I was right out of high school, man.
Mhm.
Out of high school, doing what I wanted, smoking weed, drinking, getting high, whatever, dude.
Yeah.
Next thing I know, I'm on a plane and I land, and I put my feet on the pad, and one of the first things they tell you is look to your left, now look to your right. One of you three is gonna die.
Damn.
So it was scary. I was scared, and then they pretty much said, "You already signed your life over. There's no running, boy. This is what it is.
Mhm.
Get used to it."
And you chose one of the harder branches of the military, from what I understand. So you
Yeah.
didn't go to like Army recruit or nothing.
Yeah.
You went all in. So
But I want to make a point here. It's necessary to create a warrior.
Mhm.
It's necessary.
Understood.
So
Yeah, no, I never want to discredit them because I wholeheartedly believe in our armed forces. Just I know how it was back in the day, just through stories of grapevine, and I knew how rough they could be. So you chose the harder path. But
Well, I mean, if you've seen like Full Metal Jacket,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
intense.
yeah.
So
did you ever see combat? And I'm sorry I asked that. Did you ever get deployed?
yeah, I went to Afghanistan.
Understood.
were you
well,
in an
thank you.
active zone? I think is what you were.
Yeah,
Were you in an
I-
active zone?
My grandpa busted my chops one time about that. Gonna have to he busted me hard for that. So I apologize for asking that. I'm glad you made it home.
Mhm.
How was it coming back after your first tour, and did you do a second?
I didn't make it past my first tour.
Understood.
I came back, and that's pretty much when my bad addiction started.
Okay.
That's when I dived deep into needles and everything. That's the start of when I got back. Like before, when I was a kid, it was like a build up. But when I came back, that's when it was just,
And I knew this was gonna be the touchy part, so if there's ever anything I ask or ever anything you don't wanna talk about, we will quickly move on. Did the military did it start in Afghanistan, the bad of it, and then when you got home, it got worse, or did when you got back from Afghanistan, it started? Because I know that drugs like opium and other stuff is also active over there. Like,
yeah.
So,
big
so,
time.
so did it start over there, or did it start actually when you got home?
It started over there.
Understood.
Yeah. It didn't start hard until I got back home.
Okay.
But I was sitting on BDOC with one of the ANAs, which is Afghan National Army, and they have these bricks of hash
Mhm.
and scraping and smoking it. And at first, I racked back my 50 cal and I put it in his face, and I'm like, dude, you're not gonna sit here and get high with me on post, dog. We're out here trying to protect this base. I ain't trying to stand next to someone who's supposed to protect my life and he's doped out of his mind.
Yeah.
But eventually, I was just at the end of it, I was just like, hey man, just scrape it off. I
Yeah.
hate it, dog.
Yeah, yeah. It's funny how something you will never do turns into you do it all the time. I don't understand being in Afghanistan, but I understand that part. Something I'll never do that. And then next thing you know, I'm fucking same thing. So
Yeah.
do you want to share? So you get back from Afghanistan. How old are you? 20 at that point?
No, I was 20. Yeah, actually,
About
yeah,
20?
20.
Okay, and if you don't mind my asking, because the huge part of this is I like follow kind of going down the story because that's what the point of this.
Yeah.
And how old are you now?
34.
34. Okay, so a lot of gap there. So 20, you come back. How was let's say just the first 5 years? Did you get married in that time? Can you share a little bit about your addiction? Let's say 20 to 25. When you
Okay.
first get back.
20 to 25. Well, when I first got back from Afghanistan, I actually ended up getting out on an other than honorable discharge, which
Okay.
isn't an honorable, but it's not dishonorable,
Okay.
right? I got caught jamming needles.
Okay.
And they said, one of my chief warrant officers said, listen, Mark, you're the best Marine we have 9 to 5, but outside of that, you party too much, dog.
Gotcha.
He's like, I'm going to put you at an other than honorable discharge so you can get it upgraded because this is something I have to push.
Mhm.
He's like, I can't oversee this.
Mhm.
He's like, you're a good Marine, but I just can't look past it. And I was like, I get it.
Yeah.
And then, so I got back home and I was really let down with myself. On top of the Afghanistan, now I muffed up the Marine Corps. Still just downward path. Like I said, dude, just I can't.
Mhm.
And I really just drinking 30 beers a night, 2/5, pills, cocaine, heroin, meth, anything at this point. I didn't care.
Yeah.
I just wanted it all to go away, man. I just didn't want to feel anymore.
At what point did you meet your wife, the mother of your children?
I met Kayla when I was 23.
Okay.
And it's funny, I actually met her because okay, so this is gonna get inappropriate very fast. Okay. I met my wife because I was with my best friend, which happened to be her ex.
Okay.
And he was like, dude, you gotta get this chick off. Like she won't. He's like, that's what he said to me. And I was like, okay. He's like, all right, well, we're gonna make up the story like we're running from the cops, so that way she lets us in her house,
Mhm.
and then you're gonna meet her. That's how I met her.
Okay.
I was running from the cops.
Yeah.
And then from there on, it was just party. I don't even remember the first.
Yeah.
A lot of it. There was drugs and partying and drugs. Kayla really wasn't into drugs then.
Okay.
I was hard into it.
I have been the person that has brought somebody into that life, and I hold on to that pretty hard. Were you that person there?
In a sense, yes. Yeah.
It's hard. I get it. I get it.
Yeah. So I'll speak biblically here. You know what I mean? And this is pure biblically. Everyone's opinions are formed on their own. I believe it's a man's job to lead the house.
I agree.
So wherever the man leads, the woman will follow.
Yeah.
I led her in that direction because that's what I was doing. So yes, it is my fault, but I've prayed and repented, and repentance doesn't mean drop to my knees in shame. Repentance means change your mind and walk in that direction.
Yes, sir. And I never ask a question to make you feel bad or any hard feelings. I just, she's had nothing bad to say about you. So it's just nice to hear you. It's just nice to hear what you say too. That's very beautiful. When did you guys get married?
3 months after we met.
Dude, us too. Like
About a
seriously.
month,
Yeah,
yeah.
about a month. So yeah.
Yeah. I didn't even know. Okay, so just real quick, I didn't even know. I was like 3 months with this chick. I've never, at this time it was this chick. That's why I'm saying.
Mhm.
And I was like, I can't even remember exactly what was happening, but I talked to her and I was like, so we were living at her mother's house. Like, should we like get a place together or something? And she's like, put a ring on it. Put a ring on my finger. I'm gone. I'm like, okay. So I did, because at this point in my life, I say this appropriately, I never really been with a lot of women.
Mhm.
And in my experience, love isn't something that you can just find. It's something that's built. I didn't believe in love at first sight or anything like that. So I was like, well, here's a woman. She's willing to be with me. So I'm going to move forward with this.
Yeah.
So I did exactly what she asked. And it's a funny story is we got married at the courthouse and we were standing in front of the guy. And he's like doing his I do's or whatever with her. And or with me, and I'm sitting there bawling, man. I was like, I do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he looks at her, bro. And she looked at me like this. She was like, I guess.
You're here.
Sorry, Caleb.
That's funny.
I'm a raw dude. You ask me a question, I'm gonna give it to you.
Hey, I expect nothing else, so I appreciate that. You got 3 kids.
3 kids.
3 kids. When so you're married after 3 months. When did the first kid come along?
She told me she found out she was pregnant the day after we got married.
Okay.
And so it was within that first 10 months or whatever.
Yeah.
And then like a week after that, she was like, and then,
Yeah.
and then it was another 10 months after that. So our daughters are not even a year apart.
Okay.
And it was like a year and some change after that we ended up having Aries.
Okay.
Well, she had Aries.
Yeah. How did it feel to be being a father?
If I'm going to be frank and honest with you, man, at this point in my life, I didn't really feel it.
Yeah.
It wasn't until later that I actually started to grow a heart for my children.
Mhm.
I thought I loved them and I thought I cared.
Mhm.
But there were times like when I was getting drunk and my baby got folded up into a bed and I didn't really think twice about it.
Yeah.
Let me just say something that without God, I'm not a good person. I'm a bad person without God, dog.
I have I left the kid on the side of the road drunk, so I understand. I am not a good person without God.
Yeah.
3 kids. I just don't know how to move in the direction we're going. In the Helping Hands video, there was a turning point. Have we made it to the turning point yet? Like have we made it to the night that went so wrong that you found God, or is there anything before that you would like to share?
I mean, addiction just kept getting worse and worse and worse and worse and worse and worse and worse
Yeah.
till it was like, meth every night, just anything, just all day, every day. I had to be high and drunk.
Can I ask what your original drug of choice was before you moved into? What did you like? What was the harder thing that led you into more and more and more, and it wasn't enough, and it was like you had to find the next thing?
Meth. Or you know what? It was meth, but really, yeah, no, it was meth. It was whenever the first time I stuck a needle in my arm with meth.
Understood.
Would you say that the needle was more addictive than the actual substance?
Yeah. To this day, I've been sober for almost 17 months.
Congratulations.
And I still struggle with thoughts, but those can be gone on a wisp. I give it to God immediately. But there's physical feelings from a needle that even talking about it right now, I can literally feel right here specifically that if you know, dog.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Do you want to talk a little bit about the night that changed your life?
Yeah. So okay. The before, the this, and then the after. This is the this.
Mhm.
Whenever I was drunk, totally twacked out of my mind. And I was, as I said, a bad person.
Mhm.
And I really was. And me and Kayla got in a heated argument. And I kept thinking, just, I'm like thinking all kinds of crazy things about her. Like, oh, she's just trying to yell at me to try to manipulate me into doing what she wants.
Yeah.
And, the mind of an addict.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? F this, get out of my house. And she was like, I'm not going anywhere. You know what I mean? Which she was really saying was, I love you and I want this to work out.
Yeah.
But what I heard was, you're going to do what I say and you're my B word.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
I do.
And I was like, no, you're getting out or I'm putting you out.
Mhm.
And she was like, I'm not moving. I was like, okay. So I picked her up and I threw her into the wall.
Mhm.
I was like, get out of my house. And I won't get into much detail, but let's just say I physically abused my wife and it was in front of my kids. To the point where she was all bruised up, running down the road from me.
Mhm.
And she was taking my kids with her. And they were all running down the road from me. And I was begging them to stop. And my kids looked back and said, go away, Daddy, we don't want you anymore. That was a really hard time in my life. That was the first time I ever asked for help. And right there, right then, when they turned the corner, it was on West and East St. Joe. There's a bike path right in the middle.
Mhm.
And this is in the middle of the day. So there's people staring out at me. I
Yeah.
didn't care, man. I dropped to my knees and I just looked up and I didn't know what I was talking to. But I knew I needed help. And that was the start of me getting better.
Beautiful. Jesus would rather take one sinner over 99 righteous. So I fucking. Okay. That was the start of you getting help. What was the first step? NA, AA. What was the first step, or was it not even that?
It was my daughter went up to the school because we taught our kids to be like, we knew that we lived in a messed up situation, don't we?
Mhm.
So we taught our kids that if you ever feel unsafe, because we cared about them,
Yeah.
if you ever feel unsafe, then you need to let somebody know.
Yeah.
So that's what my daughter did. She went to the school and she said to the teacher, I think my daddy's going to kill my mom. Because that's how much I hurt her.
Mhm.
And so she went to her school and told her teacher that. So they ended up sending CPS, Child Protective Services, to our home, and they tried to work like a family program. And I ended up popping dirty for meth because they were trying to figure out what was going on. They're like, this is what the lady told me. She was like, you don't seem like a bad person. You seem intelligent, passionate. You care about your kids.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on here, but I'm willing to bet it's drugs.
It's normally the culprit, honestly, for people like I'll say like us, for good people, it's definitely the culprit. Drugs.
So they drug tested me, and they told me if I didn't stop, that they'd take my kids. And that wasn't enough to make me stop. And they drug tested me again. They said, do it one more time, we're going to take your kids. And it still wasn't enough to make me stop. Because that's what addiction is, man.
Yeah.
And the third time, they took my kids. And they showed, this is the second time where I asked for help. This was like that. I had cops, 3 of them show up to my house. And he looked me in the face. He's like, give me your kids. You're unfit to be a father. And that was the sentence. The first one was like, I need help, please help me. But
Yeah.
that was the one where it's like, no, I gotta do something. I need to look for this help. It's not gonna come to me.
Yeah.
I need to look. And then I got put in the court systems to try to fight to get my kids back.
Mhm.
And then there, they were like, okay, listen, you can either just be like in this, or you could be in family treatment court, where you're gonna be pressed. They call it the Spartan course.
Awesome.
You know what I mean? And I was like, give it to me, man. Give it to me. I'm willing to do anything. I will do anything right now. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Bets down. And they're like, okay, well, you're going to take parenting classes and fatherhood classes. You're going to have to go to IOP for 9 hours a week. You're going to have to do this and struggle and keep a house. And you're gonna have to go through therapy and do all this. It's all gonna be like this amount of time. I'm just like, send it, dog. You know, my priority in life at the time was my children. So, it was, you know, I was running through that crowd, and I finally got grabbed and stopped, and I looked backwards, and I realized what I had done, and I had to do something. Then I went to, they say you have to go to 2 ancillaries a week. So I started going to NA, and then I ended up in AA. Bro, I walked into that room for the first time, and I shared. Well, like first time going in there. And when I first shared, I walked in that room. It was like, look at me, hate me. I'm disgusting. Everyone tell me you hate me and just kick me out of here. I want someone to just punch me in the face. I deserve it. You know? Yeah. It was the first time in my life I had ever felt like it was okay to be me. No, dog, we're here for you. It's okay.
Yeah.
It was the first time that I ever felt like it was okay to be Mark. Yeah, you're a man. You're gonna beat women. You're this. You're that. You're this. You're that. You're this. No, Mark. It's okay to be you. I don't even have words for that.
Yeah.
It's like something that I don't know, man. There are so many things in this life that people take for granted.
Yeah.
That is a godsend. It's a program that's free to walk into, and you build from it.
Yeah.
So AA was that first one.
Awesome.
But there's been so many people that got put in my life. I've had Pastor Everett from the fatherhood class. And in that video, he says to me, I was like, because I was taking those fatherhood classes because I actually asked to go in that fatherhood class. They gave me parenting classes, but I didn't know how to be a father. And as I told you, I became all the fathers that I hated so much. I became exactly what I hated, man. And I was like, dude, I need help. I need guidance. And what did he do? He literally set the Bible in front of me. And he says, everything you need to know is right here. You have a father that loves you in here. You have a guide to be a father. Everything you want to know and understand, it's right there. And I picked it up right then. So my pastor at the church I go to, he's been mentoring me. And soon I'll be getting involved in youth ministry, veteran ministry. I'll be working towards getting a chaplaincy so I can go into prisons and stuff.
It's beautiful.
So God puts the right people in my life right when I need them. And the crazy thing is, man, I'm sorry, I really am passionate.
Yeah.
When it comes to recovering God, man, that's what my life's about. And as soon as I dropped to my knees that day, I wasn't alone anymore. No, wait. It wasn't that I wasn't alone anymore. It was that I realized I wasn't alone anymore. Because he was always there.
You know, you knock and the door will open. It's all you have to do is ask, and you shall receive. So that's beautiful.
So how was when you got the kids back? How was like reestablishing the relationship with your kids?
At first it was a little rough, you know what I mean? Rough going because there was animosity towards me for what I had done to their mother, you know? Also, they had lived with their grandparents, different set of rules, different things, you know what I mean? So it was hard to adjust. It was hard to adjust. But let me tell you what, man. I learned something very important when my kids came back to the house full time. That being a father isn't about trying to put your kids first. There's the 11th tradition in AA. It basically says attraction rather than promotion. And what that means to me is I can tell my kids to be this way, but if I show my kids how to be this way, they're going to start following and understanding that. And that's what happens. I started doing better. My kids got better grades. I started to put forward the next foot. My kids were doing excellent. And now I get report cards all the time. All 3 of them. All my kids are excellent. They're helping other kids. They're leaders in their class.
Kids are sponges. Kids are sponges down there.
And one more other experience that I had was with the CPS agent, right? she asked my daughter, I think it was my daughter, my oldest daughter, she was like, "Are you afraid that your daddy's gonna hurt your mommy?" And she said, why would my daddy hurt my mom? It didn't even register that I would hurt her.
Mhm.
So it was great.
Yeah, no shit. No
It was
shit.
great,
Yeah.
man.
Oh yeah.
That's that. If you okay, what does my sobriety mean to me? Everything. What lengths am I willing to go to gain it? Everything. The same thing with God. What does God mean to me? Everything. What lengths am I willing to go? Any. That's why I'm sitting in this room right now, sharing my experience, strength, and hope in every way that I can.
I know for 100% fact you will reach and you have reached many, and I'm excited to see where you go, because your passion will make people listen. Your passion will make people listen. Period. Sometimes I feel like we go through some of the story too quick, but I like this part of the story more. So if it's okay, I'd like to slow down a little bit, because this is what it's all about. This part right here. So let's say the first 3 months you get sober. How was that, man? Because my first 3 months were fucking hard.
Struggle, man.
Hard. It was hard.
Yeah.
And I want to bring that up because I feel like it's not said enough. Like to the newcomer, I don't want to deter them, but in the same token, it's fucking hard. Like it is hard. But I don't want to tell you that and you run off. But in the same breath, it is difficult.
What do they call that moment of clarity? Where when it clicks, what's it called?
For me, I had an epiphany.
Right, but I mean, isn't there like in the recovery community, it's the faith-based recovery where they just have the moment from God where everything makes sense and
The
they
pink cloud.
yes. But no, pink clouding is more like you think you're doing great, but that's a higher chance to
Yeah, you're
relapse, right?
yeah.
So like where it's clicks and it's like you're like, I'm done, I'm not gonna do this, like you don't feel like
Well,
going in.
God lifted my obsession, is what I say.
Right.
He lifted my obsession. I'm sure he did yours. But so the first 3 months were hard and difficult, right? So how is there anything that you could share from that time to maybe give hope to somebody else? Because I feel like I said, I feel like we rushed a little too much. But this is the better part of the story. I don't want to say this is the good part of the story. So I'd just like to soak it in a little more.
Okay. The first 3 months, it was tough, man. I constantly and like I said, this is before I came to God too, still, really. And I had all of this anger. And that's really what a big trigger for me was anger.
Mhm.
And so I would go outside and just start crazy stuff, dude. Like I don't want to use, and I just smashed my head into a pole, man. Just like anything to get me out of that mindset.
Yeah.
Because it was hard.
Yep.
Dude, and it stopped the needle too on top of that.
Yeah.
Just you're okay. Just struggling and gripping my hands. You know, they call that white knuckling.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was not easy. And
Yeah.
the only way I got through it was by soaking myself in the community of sobriety, recovery, constantly just meeting makers make it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Going at this point, I hadn't been going to church yet. But I was in IOP and I was in therapy. And so I was learning all the things like ants, which are automatic negative thoughts. And I was learning about the rubber band. That one helped me out a lot.
Yep.
People, places, and things. Pause, pray, and proceed. To let go and let God. When I make a decision in my life to do something, I do it. That's what I do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I soaked everything in that I hear. Like I will take anything from anybody I hear and I will use that as a way to learn, or everything's a lesson or a blessing.
Yeah. 17 months is phenomenal. I think I just hit 20. So that's phenomenal. Sorry.
No, so the spiritual moment thing that I was talking about. So like you said that you had dropped to your knees a couple times and asked for help. You didn't know who you were asking, what you were asking. When did God speak back to you?
The first time. So this is crazy, man. it's gonna get a little woo woo up in here,
That's
right?
okay.
All right.
All right. It's gonna get woo woo.
We're here for it.
Yeah. So I was working for a guy at Rapid Home Maintenance Repair. I was doing handyman work, and I was out in the garage, right, in between doing things, and that's where I would go to I would sit in there and worship God, man. Just play music, put my hands up, and start singing out loud. I love you, God. What's that one song by Seth Addison? I used to listen to all the time. I still do, really. And he was like, if you never do one more thing for me, you've already done enough.
Yep.
Oh, and I would just sit there and sing my heart out, man. And I go onto that YouVersion app, and I would go through the prayers on there, and there's guided prayer. And one day I was going through one of the guided prayers, right? And I'm sitting here, and I'm just like, so I'm at a table, and there's a window in front of me, and I'm in this like garage area, and it tells me to imagine that Jesus is sitting next to you on a bench. Close your eyes, take a deep breath. He has his hand out. He's asking for you to give him whatever you want to give him. And I just started bawling. And I was like, I give you myself, man, because that's all I can give. Right? Yeah. And then my eyes are closed at this point, and like the room lights up in my, like, it just lights up. And in the window in front of me, this like bubbly hand and the arm reaches over, and it just does this in my hair, and it holds still. I could feel it, man. It was crazy. And this voice in my head, and it says, I'm not here to prove that you believe in me. I'm here because you do believe in me. That was the first time he ever spoke to me.
And that's what I was talking about. I don't remember what it's called, but it's you've seen the movie about how AA started with Bill. He talks about it. He depicts that he's in the hospital after almost dying, and something similar kind of happened.
Jesus, a spiritual awakening.
Thank you.
Oh,
Yeah. Sorry, I'm
Something.
sorry. It took me a
The
minute.
white light,
Then had his spiritual awakening.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I thought so. They say that. Yeah, that.
goodness gracious.
I'm sorry about that. It took us a minute to get there. We got there though.
We're not, none of us are perfect.
I like that you said it because it is the first time I went into recovery, I never had a spiritual awakening. I just thought that it truly takes one to just stay sober. So I'm glad that you had it.
Yeah.
I am.
I've had multiple. It's crazy, bro.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Awesome. Thank you for coming on. I'll just ask you a couple more questions if you don't mind.
We
and
should
then we'll
talk
wrap up.
about how it is now.
Yeah, like what's the past month been? What's your family dynamic look like? How are your kids? And what do you do for work?
Okay, well,
Thank you for that. I was about to just blip. Sorry. I was about to just bloop.
life is always hard. Getting sober, it's learning how to deal with life when it is hard.
Yeah.
Okay, and there's something I've picked up is what patience is, right? Patience is something that was hard for me because they're like, just be patient, just be patient, just be patient. I'm like, I'm getting really freaking impatient. Like, you're telling me to be patient.
It's a virtue.
Yeah,
Like,
it is a
it's-
virtue.
So I had to I was like, man, I got to redefine this definition of patience in my mind. I really do. And so, funny analogy that I use, but just bear with me.
Mhm.
So patience to me was like, what it was to me was like, I was this dog and they were hanging this hot dog in front of me, man. And it's like, no, wait, get it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So I had to learn how to be patient. So what I learned is patience is being okay if the hot dog comes to you, being okay if it's getting taken from you, being okay if someone hangs it in front of your face and toys with you. It's no matter if you get the hot dog or not, being okay with your situation.
So what you're saying is patience is being able to handle the anticipation.
Exactly. It's being okay with it's acceptance and understanding. So through that, I've had to learn a lot, man, but I'm not perfect. I've jumped. I got let go from my one job as the rapid home maintenance, and I got into a factory job. I was working second shift. Never seen my kids, but I was staying there because I thought God was. Now at this point is when I really started to lean into my faith. Like now I'm asking myself, is God put me here in this factory because I can help somebody? or is he trying to teach me something?
Mhm.
Okay, so I prayed about it, and I reached out to all the people I can reach out. And I actually went to an AA meeting. I was praying like, okay, should I move on to the next job? And this random lady, really old lady who doesn't barely remember her name, she was like, Mark. I was like, what? She was like, I don't know why I got to say this to you, but you've spread enough seeds where you're at. It's time to move on. And I was like, loud and clear.
Yeah, no shit.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I move on to my next job and ends up, which I've only been at for like 2 weeks now. And me and Kayla actually just got in a big argument when I was on my way here, and I yelled at her like a jerk because I'm not perfect, but I'm making good money at this job.
Mhm.
But I got offered a job at the Hope House. And I know security for my family is important.
Yeah.
But I've prayed on it for the past 2 days. And I really feel like God's leading me in this direction. Because money's not important to me. Obeying the Father that saved me is important to me. So me and her got in a fight because our dynamic is like this. I'm the idealist creationist, the dreamer, and
Yeah.
she's the reality stone. So,
Yeah.
there's gonna be fights.
No, for sure, for
You
sure.
know, we're not married or anything, but we live together and we support each other. We co-parent. And so that's where I'm at right now. Tomorrow I'm gonna go to an interview at 12:30 to work at the Hope House. And instead of making $40 an hour, I'll be making 15.
It's all about fulfillment and your path, right?
I want to obey. I want to obey because I learned what it's like not.
This is funny to me. I just lost a very well-paying job, and now I'm reading into God and what to do next. So sometimes I feel like He puts people on this podcast for me to listen to. It's hard to miss when it's right in front of me.
It's funny, we were just talking about how sometimes he can't hear him speak, but I'm like, it's funny how that happens because then overlapping, right?
Yeah.
Overlapping.
But one thing you said that I want to say is the bird wakes up in the morning, knows he's gonna get the worm. The wolf does not fear that his coat's gonna come in for the winter. So I think you leaning into God, He will provide.
Yeah.
Period. He will provide.
That's how I feel. I have
Yeah.
faith.
Yes, sir.
And faith isn't knowing. It's not okay. If I have faith, that doesn't mean I know which direction I'm going in. Faith is if I'm going in a good orderly direction. It just means I have faith that that's the right direction.
So this is kind of morbid, but I really like the analogy. So they did this experiment with rats that would tread water, right? And if somebody came in and picked a rat up, like till they were almost exhausted, almost drowning, if somebody was to pull a rat up, put it back in the water, it would tread for like hours longer because they had faith that somebody was going to come save it again.
Yeah, it's beautiful, man.
Yeah.
It's not morbid at all.
Well, I mean, the
Then now,
Yeah,
well,
the
what-
experiment
Brad,
itself
yeah,
is bad,
Brad's
but-
kind of fun.
but yes.
Yeah,
So
Well, okay, dude, thank you for coming on. Katie, will you look up their website?
That's what I'm doing.
But we do have our normal wrap-up questions. Is there anything I missed that you'd like to share?
I'm very fortunate and I'm very blessed. And I just have gratitude that you let me on your show, man, or your podcast.
Thank you.
That's about the only other thing I have to share is I don't know if you guys would really take this as it is, but I'm proud of you two.
well, thank you.
You guys are doing something it's important. It matters.
Thank you.
So
If one person's story can at least save one other person, then that's good enough for us.
We
You
did
know,
our job.
Absolutely.
We did our job. That's all I need. So,
being good vessels for the Lord, man.
yes, sir. And that's why I give the spiel at the beginning, though. That's not about me. It's about you. And because some people don't, our views align. Some people's views doesn't align with mine. But thank you
Yeah.
for that. Thank you.
Yeah.
and we always relate. We don't compare.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because comparison is
The thief of joy.
I agree, man. It's all about. It's not me telling. It's like not me telling you what to do. It's me sharing how I went through it. There's a big difference.
So my last wrap-up question before Katie's: what is your definition of success?
My definition of success. Okay, so I'll tell you how I picked my sponsor. Okay.
Okay.
when I went into the A and I was picking a sponsor, I didn't want to pick the person who got it. I wanted to pick the person who struggled and stood next to him. And that person who struggles and stands next to the person who gets it, that's success.
Hey, man. Katie?
If you could choose one word to describe your entire story from where you started to where you will end up, what would it be?
God.
Okay.
I had a feeling you were gonna say beautiful. This week, West End is not enough for all of you guys, but it is enough. It's a start. So $20 gift card to West End. It's over by Jimmy's.
Towing on East or West Michigan
Yep.
Ave.
So it says, "Welcome to West End Farm to Table." It has always been a dream of ours to have our restaurant. And in February 2017, that dream became a reality. We are proud of our wonderful staff that consists of many family and friends. Inside, you will find a clean, modern atmosphere with a very comfortable feel. Our menu offers traditional breakfast and lunch items, and our daily specials offer a different style for the more adventurous palate. Thank you for being part of our dream, and we look forward to making memories with you.
They are a farm to table restaurant, so it is very good ingredients. And we actually had breakfast there this morning. Their quiche was amazing.
Very good place to eat.
It was really
So
good.
I
so.
always try to keep it local, but I just want to support people, and these guys don't even know that I mean, they probably won't watch it, they won't see nothing, but I truly will support anybody, so thank you for coming on.
Yeah.
Here's their little, if you want to add.
Yeah, it's 4141 West Michigan Avenue. I'm clearly, you can look it up, but their phone number is 517-750-4999. Before you go, I'll start turning everything off. Would you mind signing our table?
That's
Oh.
100% okay.
I always
awesome.
fling
You
the
mind if I
paint
say
everywhere.
one more thing?
No,
though?
yeah, of
No,
course.
go right ahead.
This episode's yours.
Yeah. I just want to say a couple of things real quick. One to anyone who's listening, that you're not alone and it's okay not to be okay. That's important to remember. There's always someone there. You just have to look. That's all I want to say.
Beautiful. Dude, seriously,
Yeah,
thank you.
Thank you very much.
Seriously.
Yeah.
I'll start logging this off. If you, I'm not being picky, sign on if you want, but I do have a mark somewhere, so you could maybe put like a T by
Mark's
it.
under my
Oh,
computer.
is it? Okay, okay.